Hi, my name is Ryan Peck,
And I'm Nicole Barlow.
and this is Soundtrack Your Life, where we speak with a guest about a soundtrack that is important to them. Today, our guest is composer Archer Marsh. Season 3 of Bridgerton uses 3 of his compositions, and he's just released a cover of Alice Cooper's classic School's Out. Welcome to Soundtrack Your Life, Archer.
Welcome, Archer.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. Really excited to be here.
So one of your compositions for Bridgerton is a cover of Pitbull's Give Me Everything, which has kind of taken a life of its own on like TikTok and Instagram. How does it feel to have kind of a viral moment?
Definitely in the deep end with social media. I kind of went to bed one evening and BMG had told me, BMG is the label that the sequence is signed to, and they told me that it was being licensed to Bridgerton, but I've been in the TV and film industry for kind of 30 years. So I'm like, oh, that's fantastic. It's nice to have another sync. It's great. You know, it's just another bit of background music. Fantastic, you know. And little did I know that that one was going to hit like it did. So we formed all the, all the socials and things, the Archer Marsh socials, and then woke up one morning with about 15,000 followers or something like that. So it was like, what is happening here? Something has gone strangely viral. But there was a few people on TikTok actually that knew it would go viral before me. They were like, wait for it, it's coming. I was like, what are you talking about? So they must have foresaw it.
Well, it has over 17 million streams on Spotify right now, which is
only in a few weeks. And we've had 1.7 billion streams on TikTok.
Wow.
And I think 800,000 independent creations with the track. So that's pretty significant. I'm kind of, it's a bit surreal, really.
that is a legitimate phenomenon. So kudos to you and congratulations on that success. It's really wonderful to watch the scene itself. And for those that are familiar with Bridgerton, it takes place during this really pivotal scene. I think the biggest ship of the show is Colin and Penelope. And there's this scene in the back of the carriage where Colin is professing his love for Penelope. And then this kicks in. Yeah,
it does. It's a funny moment, really, to have your music go viral in.
Right. Because you have to talk about it, just like, oh yeah, it's the sex scene.
It's that scene, yeah. Especially with the actions that went on, it's quite funny, you know. I think the stars aligned with that particular piece of music. Justin Camps, who put it in the show, and I met him. We did a performance for Netflix and BMG on a rooftop on Thursday, which was great in Hollywood.
Nice.
And he was there. It was really fun to meet him because he had no idea either that was going to happen. He's in charge of choosing the music, and it was just fantastic because the as I said, the stars kind of aligned, and that bit of music, regardless of whether it's me or not, forget the fact that it was me. It had something with that scene. That scene was very powerful, and then the music seemed to work very well. And you can't predict that stuff. That was, he had the eye or the ear, but he didn't know that it was going to do what it did.
You didn't know in advance that it was going to be used in this way.
No. I only knew that it was going to be in the show. And as I said, I thought, oh, fantastic. We got a few tracks in the show. That's nice. It's another one for the website. It's fantastic.
Right. And you didn't record this for the show. Like you had released Sequins in 2022.
Exactly.
It's just a piece of music as an album.
Correct. Yeah. So we recorded them as bigger arrangements originally. So they were meant for promo and trailers. And then when we listened to the string arrangements on their own, we thought they worked quite well. So we released those separately. And those were the ones that were picked up, the string arrangements on their own, obviously, because they were more Bridgerton-esque.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we had no idea. We built that for TV and film and promo. So it wasn't it hadn't really done very much, honestly. I think prior to Bridgerton, it had less than 1,000 streams on Spotify, and it was just ticking along, and maybe a couple of small syncs here and there. So it's a bit different to the 17 million 7 weeks later that we have now.
Yeah, and with Bridgerton, most of the music or most of these pop covers have been done by the Vitamin Quartet.
A lot have, yeah, and a couple called Duomo in the early stages, I believe, yeah.
And I believe your cover of Ellie Goulding's Lights plays in the season finale as well. So
Hmm.
they've given your tracks a lot of shine.
Yeah,
Pivotal.
and we had Confident. That was good as well. So it's really nice to have 3 tracks in there. Is kind of unusual for them. They were saying that on Thursday when I saw them. It was not often you have that many tracks from one artist in there. So I know Vitamin String Quartet have done really well. I think they were in season 1, weren't they? Were they in season 1? The original season, I think.
Yeah.
But they've done really well out of it as well. Building a fan base.
So I know you said you've been doing this stuff for over 30 years.
I know. Good job. This is you can't see my face. How old I am.
So how did you kind of get into the industry? Were you looking to score? Do original scores? Like, what was kind of your vision for yourself as far as being a musician?
When I was young, you mean?
Yeah.
My vision. I just wanted to play music. Music was always just a calling for me, really. I didn't really know what I wanted to do in music. I just wanted to play music. And then when I understood about studios and how things work, I just wanted to be part of a studio. I didn't realize that I'd have my own studios and be my own producer or composer. I just wanted to be part of it. It was something that I didn't have a choice whether it just comes out of me. So whether I'd have done another occupation, I would have always done music. It's not something that I have a choice over. I'm just very grateful to have a hobby that I do as my job as well. But it's a long evolution. There's no kind of one moment. There's no pivotal moment that suddenly blew up or there's no arrival. It's a constant evolution. So, I've done every job under the sun. From those of you who remember Blockbusters, worked in Blockbusters, and was a window cleaner, I was a milkman, I was delivered pizzas, I worked in music shops for many years. So, it was a long time before I started to become a professional composer, into my 30s, I would say, until it started to, return an income. And that was a slow evolution. It was just chipping away and being, kind of relentless in my persistence, which is something I write down every day. I'm relentless in my persistence. I think you just got to be, especially in anything creative and media, you got to just keep going, and you got to armor up your ego and just keep going. So that's what I did. And I've been to music colleges, and I studied in London, but not until I was 22, I went back to London. And then I started working with artists and producing songs. So I have a history in the commercial world as well.
Mm.
So I had a management label and a record label, and I wrote for people like the German X Factor winners. And we had hit singles in Germany. And then my artist and record label, we had still the first independent company to have an act on the Graham Norton show. I don't know if you know the Graham Norton show in the UK.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So we had a band called the Musgraves, and they're the first independent artist unsigned to go on that show. So I'm still proud of that moment.
Oh, cool.
And then we were building artists, and then I won't say her name, but I built this young girl after 2 years of working with her, developing her album, and we had 2 labels that were ready to pounce on her. The night before the showcase, she said, "Music's not for me. I don't think music's for me." And then, and the next day, I decided that instead of investing in other people, I would invest in myself because I appreciate my money more.
It's an honest answer and an amazing story.
So I started booking orchestras and booking players and learning my craft, because ultimately I wanted to score and get into TV and film. And I wasn't really doing that. I was plowing the money I earned into other people's career who didn't really appreciate it, with all honesty. So I thought, that's the end of that. I'll appreciate it, and just started writing, music for orchestra. I phoned up a good friend of mine, Darryl Griffith, who's my orchestrator and conductor, and has been since I was 22, and said, book me some orchestras, and we went and had some fun and just learn on the floor, really. and then started bringing that stuff out to LA. And I started coming to LA when I was 30, so 20 years ago, and just hustling and knocking on doors. I would have meetings with anyone I could, the runners, the postmen, the people who was security men. I would go and see anyone that would get me closer to someone who could make something happen, you know. So that's a long-winded answer, but there's no kind of there's no shortcut in my journey, you know. It's been a long kind of evolutionary process.
And is violin your main instrument? I know you've done some videos on Instagram where you've done a
Yeah,
little...
I don't play violin. That's Jono. That's Jonathan Hill. So I write the arrangements, and I get people that can play those instruments to play them.
Are you on piano occasionally?
So piano is my main instrument. So I taught myself jazz piano at a young age. I didn't have a life. I just played the piano for 8 hours while everyone else was going out and getting drunk and enjoying themselves. I would just... They used to call me the coiled spring at university because they thought at any moment I would pop, because they saw me as this kind of social recluse. But it was it was only because I wanted to get good at my piano. So I knew where I wanted to get to, and a bit of OCD kicked in, I think. I just wanted to practice. So piano's my main instrument. And then when I worked in the music shops, I learned guitar in order to sell them. So I started playing guitar to sell them. And I'm also a drummer as well. So I studied drums. So that helps. But violin, no. That's I once asked Daryl, my Daryl Griffiths, my orchestrator friend, and he's a very good violinist. And I said, I think I should learn violin because it would help me, it would inform my writing for violin. And he said to me, don't bother. By the time you get a good sound out of it, you'll be dead. So I'll leave that to people who can actually do it properly. So
yeah. A brutal truth.
I'm all about the honesty. Yeah, it saved me hours and years of my life.
Well, speaking of these arrangements, and they're really wonderful, and I think that's why people are so attracted to them, is because they're giving you the original pop song, which is satisfying, but they're giving you a new interpretation of it, which is, I think, really beautifully done. Do you ever get intimidated by this idea of pop covers? Is it kind of a high wire act where you wonder, is it going to sound right? Is it going to hit right?
There's always a gamble in it, and it's always your own vision and your own kind of insecurity being creative will always be there at some point, like an imposter syndrome is always there, you know. But I can only do what I can do, and I've learned over the years just to do my best and let it go. You know, just do my best. That's all I can do at that moment. I can do my best and let it go. But what I like doing with the orchestral arrangements of this stuff is trying to give it a bit more edge. So sometimes if you play these tracks verbatim, note for note, it can sound a bit pastiche. It can sound a bit cruise ship, with respect to the cruise ship. I don't want to offend anyone. I'm very good at offending people.
We're not going to offend them. It's fine.
Okay, good. I just mean it can be a bit karaoke-ish, you know. It can be a little... Sure. You remember those... Oh, you probably don't, you're too young. But do you remember those... there was kind of the rock covers of 70s classics back in the day. They used to have these orchestral covers of classic rock songs, and they all sounded great, but they were like a little bit beige around the edges. So I like taking these tracks and reinventing them a little bit. So you're like, is that... Oh, I think that's... And then you get the payoff, you know, and then you get the payoff and you go, oh, it is that. But it's not exactly note for note that. Because it doesn't work. It doesn't work when you try and copy it note for note. It just sounds weird. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So not intimidated, no. It's always challenging sometimes, yes.
Yeah, but the way that the Give Me Everything cover is sort of built around that Neo part of the song is great. It's so smart. It's such a smart choice.
Yeah, thanks. I did that with one of my team, Matt Foundlin. He's very clever at doing that as well. So we worked together on that. And there's 6 of us that work for my production company. So there's a lot of really great talent in the room, and we lean on each other in that respect to kind of try and find whatever it is we're looking for at that time.
Yeah, there's something about your compositions for these songs, which, you know, full disclosure, I'm not like the biggest Pitbull fan or the biggest Ellie Goulding fan, but there is something like that
How
you can
dare you, Mr. Worldwide? How dare you?
just being honest. But there's something about your compositions that is very inviting that I can still
Yeah.
appreciate, even though like this is maybe not the song I would want to hear. Like when I hear your versions, there's like a sophistication to them where like I can still
Oh, well, I'll
enjoy
take
it.
that. I will definitely take that. Thank
Almost
you.
sophistication. It's like it's taking this club banger that's a very like something that you would hear not in a Regency
Yeah.
period
Yeah,
drama.
they're really good
And
at
it's
doing that.
not. It's unexpected.
Yeah, they're really good at doing that, kind of merging genres and cultures and decades or whatever, eras rather. You know, they're very good at doing that. Yeah, it's a fascinating idea to take those tracks, do it in those way, and then do it in that way, and then put it on a show that's set in the past. You know, it's very clever. But it's great that Pitbull was behind it. It was fantastic. We were getting some great melodies.
Yeah, Pitbull was excited about it. I think
Yeah,
he said something about it, right?
yeah. He was about how genres, you know, it crosses genres, and it was good. There is we're talking with him. We're doing a little bit more with him. I can't, as usual, can't say too much until it's out. But we are doing something together, so it's fun.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd hope
Yeah,
he'd be
it's good.
behind it. I would hope that he would be. I'm gonna have to figure out a different way to say it.
I understand what you
But,
mean. He is behind it. You
yeah,
would hope.
I'm glad that he's behind it since it's obviously given people another reason to talk about Pitbull.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really good. It's kind of bringing that song again. Everyone's kind of forgotten the song with respect to him again. I can easily get cancelled, but it's people who had forgotten the song were reminded of it, and it kind of regenerated some interest in that song. Not that he needs me to be successful with 1 billion streams,
But I think that's fair to say. I think it's fair to say that you took something that was a little bit in that millennial time capsule and you gave it some new life and some new relevance in 2024, which is,
yeah,
I think, the best thing you can hope for as an
exactly.
artist is a
Yeah,
legacy artist like Mr. Worldwide.
exactly. Mr. Worldwide, I like it. Yeah,
It's my favorite nickname.
Yeah, I don't know if he wants to be considered a legacy artist yet, but
I know. Yeah,
But
still
let's
very
be
active.
honest. I mean, he could probably do a little retrospective tour. He could have a little Vegas residency.
Yeah,
Anyway,
he could.
he's at that phase. That's a good thing.
He seems very busy. When I see him on social media, he seems busy all the time. So fair play to him.
so you are releasing a new single, or you've just released a new single covering Alice Cooper's "School's Out."
Yes, that went out on Friday and quickly got suspended. It got suspended. I think it just got flagged with Alice Cooper's publishers. So it's been cleared because you have to clear these things in order to do it. We do what's called a new master. So we don't use any of the original. We recreate a new master, but the publishing is still intact. So if the publishers see this come out and it's not, it's a question mark over it, they'll report it to Spotify and Spotify will suspend it. So that's what's happened. But it'll be resolved next week. So hopefully it'll be back up next week.
Oh, wow.
But that's a lot of fun, that one, yeah.
Can we?
Well, why did you choose to do this song? It's obviously a very different song than Pitbull.
Yeah, just for the summer holidays. And in the US, the kids are out of school now. So it was that basic. We just thought, that sounds like a fun one to do. Let's do that. It seemed like a good one to do for this time of year, because in the UK, actually, the kids aren't out until end of July. But in the US, most of the kids are already out, I think.
Yeah.
I think so, because the traffic's better. So they must.
Yep.
That's how you know. Outline in LA.
Yeah, they must be. So that was the plan anyway, to have that out just for a bit of fun. And
Well,
there's more.
Yeah, I did see Alice Cooper doing an ad for White Castle just this past week. So if you need to call him, I feel like he's probably free or out of White Castle burgers.
I'll give him a shout. See. So Alice, come on, mate. This will do us all good. Let's just let it go, son.
Let it go. Let it be.
And because we are a soundtrack podcast, when I see "School's Out" by Alice Cooper, I immediately think of Dazed and Confused. Are you a fan of that film?
Me, I don't know that film very well, actually. I mean, I know I'm terrible with names of films. I'm the kind of person that I will rent a film thinking, oh, this will be great, and I've already seen it like last weekend. And I was
I respect that.
I'm terrible. I just got my memory is just awful for names and things. Oh, that looks really good. And Nikki, my girlfriend, will be like, yeah, that's because we watched it last weekend.
Okay, I just finished Dune 2 in 6 installments last week. So
I mean, I admire you. I watched the first one and I felt really stupid at the end of it because I had no idea what was happening. So I have no idea.
Cliff's notes, I think, for that saga. It's helpful.
Yeah, I think you have to. If anyone who'd read the books understood it, and for me, I haven't got a clue. So
it's very dense. A lot of sand.
A lot of sand.
Yeah.
A lot of worms.
It looked amazing and sounded amazing, but I didn't have a clue what was going on. But that's okay, I guess.
Yeah, that's very fair. Well, so when it comes to pop covers like School's Out, obviously there's the connection with summer. It's a fun one to do. Do you have a process by which you pick the songs that you want to reinterpret? And is there anything that you ever say no to or that comes into your lap and you're like, I don't think that's going to work?
I will definitely say no to things that we don't feel are syncable, really, because the bottom line is this is for TV and sync. So it's not just, it's a job at the end of the day, and then we've got to make sure that we've actually been approached by some very big names. I wish I could say them or just, drop some names. It would be fun, but I'm not allowed to. But 3 or 4 major artists have approached me to do some of their work in my style. So, I'm really interested in that. I think that kind of collaboration is really good. And then, people like TikTok can get behind it, and it's kind of builds another area of my life that I'm not really used to. I'm not used to the social media platforms and that stuff. So it's I think no, I don't necessarily take on everything. And it's a brainstorming thing. We might look at certain tracks because we'll think about the titles or the content and or the era. Not every track will work as well. There's a few that I've tried. For example, one track came up in the club, 50 Cent, and I'm like, that's not going to really work. After you've gone past the dum dum
right.
dum 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 dum, what are you going to do? I'm out. It's like 4 bars and we're done. So there are some things that you can't really do a rap on a violin, But so there are some tracks that obviously don't work. So it's finding the ones that the choruses are going to really drop and work really well. That's what we look for. Because as I said, I like to reinterpret the verses a little bit, hint at it, and then drop for the choruses.
Gotta love those big hooks.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about the hooks.
Do you have any like future plans to build off this this newfound viral fame?
I don't know really. I'm excited about it. I'm kind of remaining open and seeing what comes from it. But outside of that side, I have a music production company, and we're very busy writing music for TV and film and trailers and games and promo and stuff. So, it is a branch that I'm very keen to explore, and we're just kind of going with it. Really, it's fun. The social media thing is the Wild West. I mean, that stuff, especially when you're in the Bridgerton camp. I mean, I'm really pleased that I've been taken in by the Bridgerton because I think if you weren't liked, they would just destroy you. But also it has taught me a lot as a human being, because you think you've done some work and been to therapy and done all that. And then, out of 6,000 comments, there'll be one you're like, oh no.
You never read the comments. You just
I've failed as a human being,
Fight the impulse.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I said to the label. We were on a meeting, and I said, oh, it's interesting, the comments, and about 6 of them at once. Don't read the comments. But I thought I was well-rounded. I thought I'd done the work, therapy, invested in myself, until you read the comments and then you realize there's still work to do.
Yeah, it's difficult as a creative because it's best for your mental health to be very offline, but you also know it's better for your career to be as online as you can.
And engage. And it took me a while, because being new to it, the criticism, there was very few. To be fair, there were very few critical messages, but I very soon kind of had to learn how to reevaluate, shift perspectives on that, and understand what it is, what it really is and what it means, and just try it. There's a couple that I really embraced. There's one that said, is the bloke waving his arms around really necessary or something? I don't know. And, and I said, no, not really, not at all. In fact, I just love being in front of musicians, and that's really. And they deleted the comment instantly. So actually, I've realized that that's if you hit it dead on, they don't think you're going to answer. They don't think it's
anonymity, that people hide behind, and as soon as you pop that bubble, it's
and it is me. I'm the one that runs the social media. My assistants do go on it and post some things that I ask them to post, but in terms of the comments and stuff, I will interact because I enjoy that interaction, and there's a lot of good that can come from this. Little things like me and Jono were talking, because Jono was just over, Jonathan Hill, who played the violin on all the stuff. He's a world famous violinist, plays with all the lead orchestras. So I got him over for the show, and we were talking about how many people have been re-inspired to pick up their instruments and learn again. And some people with mental health problems says it's helped those people, and all of that. That's what I'm excited about. I don't want to have a God complex about it. That's not what I mean. I'm just saying that's it's just really nice to engage in people in a positive sense in that way. So even if that's all that comes from it, that's pretty cool too.
Yeah. What negative comments are you talking about? I found a Reddit thread about you and this Give Me Everything cover, and they're like, it's the gift that keeps on giving. Not only is the song great, but have you seen this Archer March guy? Is super good looking.
Oh,
you need to see on Reddit. You're on the wrong platform.
Oh, now you probably see me going scarlet. That is very nice. I should go on those platforms more often to feel better about myself.
Yeah, it was all positive from what I saw.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you for sharing that with me. But it's I think it was just really that I'm not a conductor. I don't pretend to be a conductor. I can conduct a little bit, but usually if I want an orchestra conducted, I will get someone who's a professional who's done it for 40 years to go and do it. So I'm just messing around. So I don't tend to like doing things that I'm not confident. It's like going and talking about doing a seminar or something on stuff you don't really know about. It's very uncomfortable. So part of me doing that was uncomfortable. So when that was exposed in the comments, I think I was like, oh no, I've been found out. But then I'm like, okay, yeah, I've been found out. I'm not pretending anyway. So when I, as I said, I shifted perspective and realized I'm not hiding anything. I've been very transparent about my lack of conducting ability. And Daryl often texts me and tells me the same thing. So it's just fun. That's how I've tried to just see it as just to enjoy what's going on and be present with it rather than worry about what's happened or what may happen, which I think is a good lesson in life, but very hard to do.
Absolutely.
So you're not rushing out to do sequence 2 right now?
We are working on that, actually. Yeah, we've got an EP coming together. I'm just caught up. There's a couple of artists that I'm working with specifically who have asked me to do their projects. So we've interrupted that to do this because I think if that works, I'll know next week it'll be really good for everybody. It'll be a lot of fun. So we're doing that, and then I'm working on the next EP as well.
And is that going to have the stripped versions as well as like the more full versions, or?
Yeah, I think we're actually gearing it just towards string arrangements. So this won't be. Well, we're going to do it the other way around. We're going to do string arrangements that we may trailerize or promo afterwards, but flipped to the Sequenz album, which was trailer promo and then the string arrangements. So we're going to really gear towards the string arrangements, and also, I think with half an eye on the next season of Bridgerton, I think that would be useful just to have those tracks available, whatever they may be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure now that you're so interconnected with the tone and the mood of that show and all of your tracks being in some really important scenes, I imagine they're going to give you a little call back. It's probably going to be a new relationship.
That'd be really nice. Justin Camps, he only lives a little way away from me. He does that. And I think we're going to meet and discuss a few things. But I think, for me, it's about having a little bit of grit in those arrangements, and I think just having an edge to that, the sound, rather than have it sound sweet and classical. How can we give this a bit of a bite? So anything that I can find to do that with, that'll be fun to do.
Yeah, have they announced Bridgerton season 4? I mean, I assume it's gonna happen, but
I don't think they've announced it, but it's definitely happening, as far as I know. Well, I'm no authority. I'm assuming it is.
Yeah, I think it's one of Netflix's biggest shows, so I would imagine it's kind of a foregone conclusion. Yeah,
I thought I heard the other day there was 7 seasons or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I'll ask my wife after the podcast. She probably
knows. Can you just ask her now? That'd be useful. We all sound like we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, we need a Bridgerton expert.
Yeah, that's true. I'm definitely no Bridgerton expert, but yeah.
But you were aware of how they used music in the show before they brought you in, right?
Pardon?
With Bridgerton, you were familiar with how they used the music in the show before they...
No, not at all. I had no idea. Only that they were going to use those tracks, not how they were going to use them. No clue. I don't have a say in that. It's not score, so it's just that they pick up the tracks for the Chris Bowers, who does the score. He does all the incidental stuff. So this was literally tracks that they picked up to place in certain scenes.
Do you think the next time around, if they use your music, they're gonna show you what they're gonna use it for, or do you think they're gonna just throw it?
No, I don't think they let it out. I mean, no one knew. It's so secret. We didn't even know. For example, we knew we had music in the second part of season 3, but we didn't know where either. So even after the Give Me Everything track, we still didn't know where the next 2 tracks were going to be.
Wow.
That's so interesting. I would have sworn that this collaboration was premeditated, that it was planned, because when I found out that they just pulled your tracks and put them in these scenes, it was like, but they match so well.
Yeah.
It's like you did it in advance, but learning that you didn't, it was very surprising to me.
Yeah, and I was talking to I said before we did the show to everybody, it's not lost on me how many thousands of tracks there are available to use on this stuff. So to be picked out of those thousands is a real privilege, and I'm very grateful that kind of worked. But they get pitched hundreds of tracks from everybody for these scenes. So the music supervisors on these shows will just get inundated by publishers and labels and artists desperate to get on the show. So, because it's such a big thing to be involved with and can connect to so many different things. So, I'm very grateful for that happening, really, without me even kind of realizing what was going on.
Yeah, and that's why it's so amazing that not only did the Pitbull cover make it, but you have a total of 3 tracks in this one season.
Yeah, it really is. I think that's the sound. There was something about the bite of the sound they liked. So the musicians I use are very kind of edgy. They're classically trained, but they like what we call digging into the strings. You dig in a little bit, which gives you that little grit bite to the instrument.
That's great. Yeah, I listened to the whole soundtrack, the whole season 3 soundtrack, and definitely your songs stand out.
Oh, thank you. Thanks so much.
And I have a 5-year-old that loves Dynamite by BTS, which is also on there, but
That's cool. Yeah, I think they might be releasing it on vinyl. That'd be a nice thing to have.
Yeah, it's a fun listen.
Oh, that would be wonderful. Yeah. Maybe a record store day release.
Yeah, it'd be really good.
So huge. Yeah. Well, we are a soundtrack podcast, and so we do like to ask people if they have a favorite soundtrack or score. Is there anything in your mind that stands out or that's inspired you?
I like old school. So, like Schindler's List. It's such an amazing score, and the story behind that. I don't know if you know the story behind Spielberg and John Williams. Do you know that story? Have you spoken about that story? So Spielberg got Williams in to watch the film prior to scoring. And obviously it was so moving, and John Williams went out and had to compose himself for excuse the pun, compose himself outside for a little bit. And then he went back in and he said, "You need a better composer than me to do this."
Mm.
And Spielberg turned around to him and said, "Yeah, I know, but they're all dead, so you'll have to do."
That's amazing.
And that's a true story. I've heard that from Spielberg and John Williams, so I know that that's a factual story. And so anyway, but that score is so sympathetic to what's actually happening. It's not, it never feels overblown or Hollywoodified or glamorous. It feels sympathetic without being too like patronizingly sad. You know, there's something very specific about what he captured there for me, which is unique. And obviously all of his scores, the Indiana Jones stuff and E.T., and, you know, it's just phenomenal. They're really the stuff that moves me. It's the emotion that moves me in that stuff that he captures so well, and his understanding of the orchestra and every instrument. And yeah, I'm not a huge fan of a lot of modern scores for reasons that I can get mistaken into sounding cynical, and it's not from a cynical place or bitter or anything like that. It's just that I think somehow there can be a disconnect between the music and what's actually happening on screen, and that's somehow things have parted to where it becomes this kind of soundscape versus the picture, and they're both competing rather than working together. And that's, you know, if you listen to the music on its own, often it's fantastic, but when it's put against the pictures, there's sometimes, and I'm not very popular in this is only my personal opinion, but there's a disconnect there between the emotion of what's happening on screen and the music, you know, because you can whitewash it. And I think the most important thing you can learn about scoring for TV and film is knowing when not to put music in. You know? So when you have these huge drones for like minutes and minutes and minutes, you it's exhausting, it's tiring, and you can lose. It's like anything. If you want to build a tension, I would say to my composers, you know, you can build a metronomic tension, you know, a pulsing tension, but you can't have a repeated pulse for too long because you get used to it. So once you're used to it, you're no longer frightened or you're no longer tense because you're like, oh, it's a bit like COVID. We're all terrified for the first few months and rubber gloves and masks and no one touching Amazon boxes or whatever. And then after a while, you're like, oh, well, you know, you can't live in that state of fear for much longer. So you have to know when to pause and when to reinterpret and when to go again and all these things. So I think that I might just be outdated in that view, and I'm okay with that. It's just my personal preference, but I feel that, you know, I tell you what was a great score is Poor Things. That was a fantastic score.
Oh yeah,
phenomenal. So, you know, there are things that come out like that. You go, that is so clever. I like things that feel like they've had thought behind them and also make me feel something. Music's about creating emotion, isn't it? So if I'm left feeling a little bit cold about it, it didn't do its job for me personally. Yeah, I'm not going to mention specifics unless you really want me to, but I think it's you know, it's just a way of expressing emotion that I feel is in danger of being lost. So that's my probably outdated opinion on it.
Well, it's a professional opinion. I feel like you get to have this opinion because it's coming from an informed place.
Yeah, but I don't know whether informed means correct or relevant. You know, it's just it's all a matter of perspective and subjectivity, I guess. I mean, I'm scoring a movie at the moment for Amazon, and it's fantastic because they're allowing me to score it in a way that I feel it should be scored, and that is so unusual. Normally, you're just copying temp, or you're kind of copying other soundtracks that the directors or producers have had in mind, rather than, you know what, you do your thing. And that is incredibly scary, actually, because you can hide behind temp and you can hide behind briefs and you can hide behind other things that they send you, because then you can say, if it doesn't work, well, that was your idea. But when they're saying you do what you do, you go, great. Oh, Now I've got to create something that, it's terrifying. But it's what's really good about that is you can create space and moments. And really, writing music for TV and picture is space, create underpinning what's going on, and to the point where it can be so minimal. There's a series on right now we're watching called it's got Jake Gyllenhaal in it. Oh my god. Anyway, it's on Apple TV. It will come to me in a minute. But the score is fantastic. But the space that has in the score creates the tension. It's not music that creates the tension, it's the space in between the notes that creates the tension. So that's fantastic. So yeah, I'm not saying that all modern scores, I sound like a grumpy old git. I'm not saying that all modern scores are like that. But I feel a lot in cinema, it's wall to wall. I feel like it feels insecure to me when you have wall to wall music. It feels like you've got too used to the story and you're no longer confident about the story. So you're looking for music to prop it up. And it's just because you're used to it, Anyway, that's kind of what I think. But I'm sure experts in soundtrack would dissect that in a second.
I don't be so sure. I feel like we have a lot of people come on and they say John Williams, and I think you say it for a reason, because those are perfect scores.
Yeah, and Thomas Newman, he knows how to use space, and I think a lot of what's happening is it's not about us, it's not about the music, it's about the story and the pictures. And I think somehow the lines have got blurred, that the score is kind of this standalone entity, which it can be. Obviously, if you listen to Indiana Jones, it's a fantastic piece of music. But when it's coupled with the pictures, magic happens.
Right.
Something magical happens. And I don't know. I like to think that won't be lost. I think it's I don't want it to be a dying art.
Yeah, that trend towards maybe not servicing the story as much as you're servicing the music separately, I think is a real thing, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And without naming particular composers, shows, or movies, sometimes it does feel very claustrophobic. It can feel very busy and constant, and you don't want that.
Exactly my point. I'm like, I get it. You've used that sound 30 times. I get it. It's I don't know. That stuff is a mystery to me sometimes, especially when there's so much hype about it. I'm like, really? I must be outdated because but it's the claustrophobia. You're right. It's when you want to turn it down. You're like, all right, just give me a second. I find it an awful lot. I do a lot of documentaries, and documentaries that I write, it's just wall to wall music. When I'm watching documentaries, you don't need that. It's dialogue. So what happens when you've got all that dialogue and you put this big wall to wall score underneath it? You have to mix it quietly in order to hear the dialogue. When you mix it quietly, it makes it sound super cheap. So when you're watching all these documentaries, you've got this music that is kind of this thunderous music that is squashed to the bottom so that you can hear the dialogue. And there might be some effects or like cars going past or some ambient noise or whatever. And it just cheapens the whole thing to me. Whereas when you've got dynamics or solo instruments or one little piano note, you can have that louder and suddenly it sounds more expensive because you can have the dynamics. So, it's a complicated world we navigate.
Do more, do less, minimalism, maximalism.
Absolutely.
Lots of choices.
Yeah, there are moments where you can do that in the space in the score, but mostly, you've got to leave the space, I think that's like the same in life, isn't it? You got to leave space in life. You got to have space.
Oh, that's true. Do you have a director in mind? Could be from the past or the present, where you just feel like when you watch their works, you're like, there's a mind meld here. I should be scoring their films.
Oh, not really. No, again, if I did, I'd probably forget their names. But like the guy that, who was do you know the director of Poor Things?
Yorgos.
Thank you.
Larthimo.
Yeah, we'll just call him Yorgos.
And I have a hard time with it.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, not me. I mean, and for someone who is in the industry, I should really know more about that stuff. But I'm always moving forward, and so sometimes that prevents me analyzing things too much. I don't know. That's probably an excuse for just having a bad memory. But when I see his work and someone that is prepared to be that brave with music and ideas and take away from the, oh, it's an animation or a superhero movie. No, we're not doing that. We're doing this. And, I'll die on the sword for it. I love that bravery. And I think we have to be brave in the creative world. There's always going to be the bread and butter stuff that people will always enjoy. But the creative industry the word is in the title. It's supposed to be creative. And that sometimes means taking risks and failing with those risks. And there's not a lot of people that are prepared to fail these days. So when I see that stuff, it really inspires me. And I know it's polarizing. I know some people are like, what the hell is that? And some people think it's the best thing ever made for cinema. But that's what I think art is. That's what it should divide opinions, and it should provoke conversations about it. It's okay, that stuff. It's okay, If you go for the middle ground all the time, all the edges start getting rounded off and you just become, mediocre, I think. So it's, I don't know, I'm sounding pretty cynical, aren't I? I don't mean it to come across like that.
No, not at all. I think you're advocating for more bravery and creative work, which is real. It's a real thing. I think there's something to be said for like an interesting failure. I'd rather watch an interesting failure that really made a big swing
Absolutely.
than, a really successful middle of the row blockbuster film.
Absolutely, because they've taken a risk. And I would love to see the studios, for all the hundreds of millions of dollars that they spend, go and give the kid with the iPhone who's just graduated film school $1 million and to ask him to go and make something. Because out of every 5 of those kids that you ask to do that, you're going to get something incredible from something at some point. That's where the real creativity is going to be, not just fueling the kind of flagship tentpole movies that everyone, another superhero, great, it's fantastic. There are some really good ones, of course. But we're not getting anything particularly, not as many new ideas. And so what happens is that people end up just making their own movies and putting them on YouTube, and which is fantastic as well. But if I was in charge of some money, that kind of money, I would take a bit of it and give it to young creatives and take some risks and be okay with losing that money, because they're going to lose it on the money anyway that they're losing on the blockbusters. Look at Blair Witch Project. I know I'm going back a bit. But that was done on what, $15,000? That movie was made.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous, and it revolutionized horror movies for the next decade. So it's not about the money necessarily. It's just about giving people the opportunity to express their ideas in a creative way, rather than this conforming or focus groups and generalization that I think is diluting that element of our industry a little bit. But I'm not saying that there isn't talent out there. I'm just saying that there's so much talent out there that some of it isn't being seen and not getting the right credit, because we're not prepared to fail forward. I always say to my team, I don't care if you fail. We fail forward. We learn. We go again. We go again. We go again. It's okay to fail. Write a bit of music that you are not. You're embarrassed to play me because you've gone too far. That's okay. I'd rather you go too far and we pull it in a little bit than you stay in this middle ground of safety, because there's a danger in safety. It's a very limited area that you're stuck in. So you have to put yourself out there in a creative world sometimes.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I'm on film Twitter, so we're always complaining about stuff like that, like more auteurs.
Yeah, and it's different. It's
like
tricky.
IP. We don't need the Polly Pocket movie.
Yeah, it's not like complaining is the wrong word. I think I don't know what it is. Maybe it is complaining, and you don't want to be the old guard that are just saying, "Oh, it's not like it was in my day." That's not what I'm saying either. I'm totally open to whatever happens as long as it's brave. That's what the art industry is about. It's much more obvious in other areas. Like, people are much more willing to take risks in modern art. and go out there on a whim. And, and it's becoming less so in the TV and film industry, I think,
Yeah, I think it kind of like ebbs and flows. Like for a while, it's like, this is the golden age of TV. Look at how many chances we're taking. And then now it's all like back to like, oh, everything is just a formula off of what was already successful.
But then every now and then something like Squid Games will come out and you're like, oh, okay, this is fantastic. What an idea, and then Squid Games becomes kind of normal. Whereas when it first came out, it was such a new idea. So the new ideas can become normality very quickly. So it's about constantly pushing.
Yeah, and I feel, to kind of bring it back to Bridgerton, like how they wanted to do music, I feel like that was a huge risk that they took, to take modern music and to kind of, reconfigure it in kind of like a classical sense. Like, if it wasn't done right at the beginning, people would be like, the show's so stupid.
I know, yeah, it could have easily failed, couldn't it? Because it is a risk, especially you're like, wait, Pitbull? Hang on a minute, this doesn't work.
Yeah. And I think I had read that one of the showrunners was really nervous about how that would come across. And then as soon as the scene was, cut and done, it was clear that it was going to be perfect, that people embrace it. And I think that's where these risks can take you, is something that really works in a way that you couldn't have envisioned previously, because you kind of took that little push and made it something different, and made it like just a really cool anachronism. I like that the show really embraces its anachronism and doesn't try to be too serious to the period, too true to the period.
Yeah.
I think that would be a mistake too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the music really helps that.
You probably see someone filming something on their mobile phone in the next season.
Right. Just like the water bottle, like that one game.
Exactly. Yeah, Lamborghini drives past the back handle.
Well, it kind of reminds me of a movie we covered a couple months ago, Marie Antoinette, Sofia Coppola's Marie Antoinette, where, in one scene she's wearing like Converse sneakers, and then, she's run into her room to the Strokes, and
yeah, that's so cool. Why not? People get so kind of enslaved by that stuff. It's like, why does it matter? It's art. It doesn't have to be real. It's not true to life. Well, it's not supposed to be. I don't understand that argument.
Yeah.
It's not a documentary. It's a piece of art. So why should it be true to life?
And I think I like the commentary on that is, it's a period piece. You weren't there. You didn't know what she was wearing. So why not have some Converse sneakers?
Yeah, people get really hung up on the Regency costuming, whether or not, the buttons are right, or they can see an existing zipper. And you're just sort of like, oh. I think this is really more about the fantasy of it. I think you have to give yourself over to that fantasy. And I think that the music really does help do that. I think it helps take you there. Like, no. We're not doing a historically accurate romance drama. We're going to give you something else. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. I love that. That just to take risks again. We're back to taking risks and not being pigeonholed by conformity in that respect.
And Sofia Coppola and like Baz Luhrmann, they do this so well, right? They're always kind of taking you to a period piece, but it's got all of these like pop sensibilities that I think are really satisfying and make it more interesting and more layered when done well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would say I think Baz Luhrmann fails more than he succeeds, but at least he's failing forward, as you would say.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah, absolutely. Prepared to take risks. He can afford to take those risks, and people will do whatever he wants to do because of his name. So at that point, I love the fact that he's taking risks,
Yeah, I'll never be mad that he's making like another movie.
Yeah, sure.
It'll be like, oh, maybe I'll like that one.
Yeah.
It's not going to be boring.
Yeah, it's not going to be boring. It's going to be very visually pretty to look at.
It's also going to make you talk about it. So there's, when it does, again, I don't want to sound, but the amount of movies I come out of the theater and I've instantly forgotten. Whereas at least you'll be talking about it, whether you like it. It's not kind of, you're not middle ground. You either hate it or you love it. It will be something to discuss. It will be an interesting conversation for you guys on these kind of interviews, rather than these kind of you know, the forgettable stuff that is so common for me these days. But maybe I've got high expectations. I don't know. Maybe I was having this conversation with my partner Nikki, and it might just be that this is the evolution of cinema, you know, because sometimes, as we discussed before, you go and it's such a visual thing that it looks fantastic and it sounds fantastic, but I come out, I'm like scratching my head. But maybe that's what cinema is turning into in some way. Some part of it is just an experience rather than, you don't have to know the story, or you don't really have to, because, you know, we'll talk about, sometimes we'll have to go back and watch what the director was meaning about certain films. And I get annoyed by that personally, because I'm like, I shouldn't have to go and watch an interview with the director in order to understand his movie. That shouldn't be the premise of me watching this. It should be laid out for me pretty simply. It's an interesting debate. And again, I'm probably outdated in my approach to it, but, you know, we can discuss it.
You're not outdated. You're just a classicist. You like
classicist. I like that. I'm going to use that. I'm going to have that on a t-shirt. I am a classicist. So said you.
Well, thank you, Archer, so much for coming on our podcast.
No problem. Of course. I'm very grateful to be here. It's fun to talk about this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I love talking about popular music in film and TV, especially. While you didn't necessarily make this for Bridgerton, like, I just kind of love to talk about how, like, these things kind of happen, where you have
so rarely a lot of my music is being used in TV and film that never designed for in those, and it's always a surprise and fun to see it, how other people interpret the use versus how you created it in your mind for use. You know, you're like, oh, I didn't think of that, but that works. You know, if a few years ago I would never have imagined the scene that track was used in.
You didn't imagine a steamy Regency carriage scene for your track?
Of all the things that you would have said, what do you think this would be used for? That would not have even been on the list. So, it's a surprise.
Yeah, and I'm sure that, whoever listens to this interview is going to be surprised. Wait, Bridgerton didn't ask him to do that?
Yeah, I know. There's very, very little music is scored, I think, in Bridgerton now. It's very little score. There's the titles, obviously, a little bit of incidental, but most of it are these, what they call needle drops of tracks that are, written in the style of the show. And as I said, I think they get more and more now because people are trying to get the tracks on there. So maybe they'll start shifting it. Maybe they'll shift the genre a little bit. Maybe I'll have to try and push the boundaries myself, put my money where my mouth is, and try and take a risk and send them some stuff.
They're going to ask you to do some rap songs.
Now that would be interesting, wouldn't it? That would terrify me. Yeah. But it's all fun. It's all good. I think the journey has been fantastic. You know, the social media, the hype behind it, the Bridgerton family, I've even done Australian breakfast television. It's been quite a ride. And I was in Windsor at the time because I have a place in Windsor, and when it was all kicking off. And so it was quite fun to go to the castle and do those things outside the castle, and, have the Regency kind of background and all that in Windsor. I did get a free coffee and a croissant out of it. The cafe asked me to go in and have a free coffee.
Oh,
wow.
Perks.
I feel like I'm ahead. Yeah.
So if people want to follow you on social media, how can they find you?
It's just Archer_Marsh. That's all it is, on TikTok and on Instagram. And I'm always available for critique.
Be nice to Archer in the comments, okay?
My fragile ego can't handle it. Yeah.
We'll put your social media handles in our show notes so people can find it that way as well.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you. Obviously, we are at SoundtrackCast on Instagram and on Twitter. We still will not call it X. And, and if you want bonus features, we are on Patreon at that soundtrack your life. Thanks again, Archer, and we look forward to seeing what you have for us in the future.
Thanks so much for having me. Real pleasure.